My beloved sisters, how many times have you cried alone in your room, holding onto your pillow as if it could absorb the pain in your heart? How many nights have you asked yourself, why am I not enough? Why do they keep hurting me, walking all over me, breaking my heart as if I have no worth? You were not created to be weak. You were never designed to be broken. You are a woman, a soul of strength, dignity, and honor. But somewhere along the way, life, society, and sometimes even those closest to you convinced you that softness meant silence, that being kind meant becoming a doormat, that being feminine meant accepting pain quietly and hiding your worth behind your tears. Let me remind you, dear sister, Allah does not love oppression, even if the one being oppressed remains silent. Your heart was not made to be shattered again and again in the name of patience. Your dignity was not meant to be traded for fake love, for attention, or for approval from those who don't even value your soul. This world has become louder with false definitions of strength. Many have begun confusing gentleness with weakness, humility with inferiority, and forgiveness with foolishness. But Islam never told the believing woman to be walked upon. Islam never asked you to be soft in the face of abuse, manipulation, or injustice. You were told to be modest, wise, firm in faith, and fierce in your value. It is time to stop being the soft woman who lets herself be drained by everyone and filled by no one. It is time to stop being the woman who apologizes for having boundaries. It is time to rise with purpose, walk with dignity, speak with clarity, and protect your peace. Because a woman who fears Allah is not weak, she is a warrior of truth. You can love without lowering yourself. You can serve your family without surrendering your self-respect. You can be tender in heart yet tough in the soul. That is the true balance that Islam calls you to. It is time you start walking towards it. Your boundaries are a form of self-respect, dear sister. You were not created to be everything for everyone. You were not sent into this world to please people at the cost of your own soul. And you were not born to be used, drained, and silenced in the name of love, culture, or kindness. One of the most powerful things a believing woman can learn to say is no. No to disrespect. No to pressure. No to toxic expectations. No to things that break her slowly or suddenly. Yet for many women, this word carries a deep fear. A fear of being rejected. A fear of being seen as rude, arrogant, selfish, or too much. And so, she says yes to things that hurt her just to keep others happy. She allows people to cross her limits, to walk all over her, to drain her emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, because she fears disappointing them more than she fears losing herself. But let me ask you, my sister in Islam, how long will you betray yourself to please people who wouldn't even notice your tears in sujood? How long will you say yes while your heart is screaming no? Understand this, your boundaries are not a sin. They are a sign of wisdom. The Prophet himself taught us that our time, energy, and emotions are a trust, and we will be questioned about how we spent them. Even he, the most generous and compassionate of people, did not allow himself to be used by others. He set limits. He taught people how to treat him. And he spoke up when lines were crossed. When you say no, you are not being harsh. You are being clear. When you say no, you are not being unkind. You are honoring your soul. When you say no, you are not being difficult. You are refusing to let people take what they did not earn. So many women are exhausted, not because they are doing too much, but because they are doing too much for the wrong people, in the wrong places, out of fear, guilt, and insecurity. Let this be your wake-up call. Islam teaches compassion, not self-destruction. It teaches giving, but not at the cost of your mental, emotional, or spiritual stability. You cannot pour from a cup that's always empty. You cannot heal others while you're bleeding inside. And you cannot give your best to your family, your spouse, your work, or your Lord if you are always saying yes to things that are slowly breaking you. Saying no to what you cannot handle is not pride, it is protection. Saying no to a gathering that will harm your faith is not weakness, it is strength. Saying no to a relationship that distances you from Allah is not cruelty, it is mercy, first for yourself and then for them. You see, when you constantly say yes just to be liked, you are building a life on false peace. A peace that comes at the cost of your truth. But real peace, the peace that settles your soul and earns you Allah's pleasure, that only comes when you live with integrity, not performance. Allah gave you a voice, use it. Allah gave you intuition, listen to it. Allah gave you worth. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. It is not your job to fix everyone. It is not your job to carry burdens that were never yours. It is not your job to shrink so others can shine. Your job is to serve Allah, take care of your soul, and give from a place of strength, not sacrifice. So if your yes cost you your peace, your dignity, your faith, then it is a price too high. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to walk away from people who don't respect you. You are allowed to distance yourself from chaos. And you are absolutely allowed to protect your emotional well-being without apologizing. One of the most powerful examples in the Qur'an is Maryam a.s. She was pure, she was chosen, she was honored. But she also knew when to isolate, when to protect her peace, when to stay silent, and when to stand her ground. She did not argue. She did not explain herself. She trusted Allah, set her boundaries, and walked with dignity. Take this as a lesson. You don't owe anyone an explanation for doing what protects your heart, your faith, and your well-being. You don't need to justify why you're choosing peace over people pleasing. Start small. Practice saying, I can't do this right now. Say, that doesn't work for me. Say, I appreciate your view, but I will have to decline. And most importantly, say it with love, but firmness. You don't have to be rude, but you must be clear. Dear sister, you are not weak. You've just been told that your strength lies in silence and sacrifice. But today you reclaim it. Your strength lies in your clarity, your courage, and your commitment to what is right. And one of the most powerful ways to live a life of dignity is to learn how to say no. Not with anger, but with love for yourself and trust in your Lord. Let this be your first step to stop being the soft woman who gets broken and become the strong woman who builds herself back, one boundary at a time. Stop seeking validation from people. Your worth is from Allah, not the world, my beloved sister. How often do you scroll through social media, comparing your life to others, wondering if you're good enough, pretty enough, successful enough? How many times have you felt the need to explain your choices, your dreams, your silence, just to gain someone's approval? How many days have passed where your happiness was determined by how others treated you, praised you, noticed you? Let's be honest, this world has made us slaves to validation. We smile because we want others to say we're strong. We post because we want others to say we're beautiful. We agree to things we don't even believe in just to be accepted. But the painful truth is this: no matter how much you try, you will never be enough for everyone. You will never look right to everyone. You will never speak right for everyone. You will never live right in the eyes of everyone. So why are you still handing your self-worth over people who didn't create you? Dear sister, you were not created for the approval of people. You were created for the pleasure of Allah. You were not placed on this earth to fit into society's mold. You were placed here to rise in taqwa, in strength, in dignity, and in obedience to your Creator. The moment you stop seeking validation from the world is the moment you start truly living, because people's love is temporary, their praise is unstable. One moment they lift you up, the next they drag you down. You cannot build your identity on the shifting sands of opinions. How many times have you said yes, just so someone would like you? How many times have you kept quiet when you wanted to speak truth, out of fear of being judged? How many times have you betrayed your own values, just so someone wouldn't walk away? But remember this: if someone's love for you depends on you betraying yourself, then their love was never real to begin with. The right people will love you for who you are, not for how well you perform or how much you change yourself to fit their expectations. And the one whose love matters most, Allah, already created you with honor. He already sees your worth. He already knows your heart. Do you know what He says about you in the Qur'an? Indeed, the most noble of you in the sight of Allah is the one with the most taqwa. Ashura al-Hujurat 49:17. Not the most popular, not the most followed, not the most liked by others, but the one who fears Him, trusts Him, and lives for Him. So many women today are exhausted, not because they are doing too much, but because they are constantly trying to prove themselves to parents, to communities, to strangers online. But what if you stopped chasing people and started chasing Jannah? What if you stopped worrying about who's watching you and started caring more about who is recording every action? Allah Himself. Let me remind you, you don't need to wear a certain brand to feel confident. You don't need 1,000 likes to feel beautiful. You don't need to be married to feel worthy. You don't need a degree, a career, or an applause to feel like you matter. You already matter, because you are the creation of the one who never makes mistakes. Your job is not to impress the world. Your job is to submit to the one who knows your heart even when you can't explain it. So let go of the need to prove. Let go of the pressure to please. Let go of the fear of being misunderstood. And hold on to your Lord, the only one who sees your tears before they fall. When you truly internalize that your worth comes from Allah, something amazing happens. You start walking differently. You start thinking differently. You stop begging for love. You stop tolerating disrespect. You stop apologizing for your values. You stop explaining your choices when they align with your deen. Because when you stand in front of Allah in sujood, you no longer need to perform for anyone else. You are no longer desperate for compliments. Because you are focused on your character, you are no longer hunting for attention. Because you are seeking His nearness. You are no longer seeking validation. Because you already have something far greater, Allah's mercy, His love, and His acceptance. So stop chasing a world that doesn't even know what it wants. Stop molding yourself into versions that are easier to like just to fit into rooms that Allah never meant for you to enter. You don't have to fit in. You were born to stand out as a believing, dignified, fearless, honorable woman of faith. From this moment on, live to please Allah, and the right people will find you. Those who love your soul more than your looks. Those who respect your faith more than your image. Those who see your light, not just your shape. And if no one sees you, remember Allah always does. Let go of people who drain your soul. You're not obligated to suffer for love, dear sister. There comes a point in life when you must pause and ask yourself a difficult question. Why am I still holding on to people who are breaking me? We live in a world where relationships are glorified. No matter the cost, you are taught to stay, to endure, to tolerate, to forgive endlessly even when the wounds deepen. And while patience is indeed a virtue in Islam, suffering in silence for the sake of people who are draining your soul is not what Allah wants for you. There is a difference between sacrifice and self-destruction. There is a difference between compromise and complete emotional collapse. And too many women, kind, giving, faithful women, are breaking inside, holding on to people who no longer honor their heart or value their worth. Why? Because they believe leaving would make them disloyal, ungrateful, un-Islamic. But dear sister, let me say this from the depth of compassion. You are not obligated to suffer in the name of love. Allah does not want you enslaved to relationships that pull you away from your dignity, your health, or your iman. He does not want your heart to be shackled to a bond that brings more pain than peace. So many women cry quietly, in marriage, in family, in friendships. They stay because they were taught that good women never leave, that righteous women always forgive. And yes, forgiveness is noble, but repeated betrayal is not a test you're meant to carry forever. Sometimes the test is in letting go, not holding on. Sometimes walking away is not giving up, it is choosing to survive. Sometimes distancing yourself is not arrogance, it is protection. The Prophet taught us that a Muslim does not allow themselves to be bitten from the same hole twice. In other words, if someone repeatedly hurts you, uses you, manipulates you, or belittles you, you are not weak for removing yourself from their reach. You are wise, you are strong, you are trusting Allah more than you trust people. We've all been there. You gave your heart, you gave your time, you gave your loyalty, and in return you were met with betrayal, lies, disrespect, or worse, emotional manipulation that made you question your own worth. And yet you stayed, because they said they'd change, because they cried, because you hoped. But hope without action is a form of emotional blackmail. If someone truly valued you, their effort would match their apologies, their presence would match their promises, and their behavior would match their words. Let me remind you, it is not selfish to protect your peace. It is not heartless to let go of those who take you for granted. It is not wrong to love from a distance when closeness only brings you chaos. Allah does not leave you empty when you walk away from what breaks you. He fills you with something greater. Peace of mind, strength of soul, and nearness to Him. Sister, the wrong people will cost you more than your time. They will cost you your clarity, your self-esteem, and sometimes even your relationship with Allah. And no relationship is worth that price. You were not created to beg for love. You were not created to shrink in silence. You were created to stand in sujood, raise your hands to the sky, and know that the one who truly loves you never hurts you. Sometimes the biggest act of faith is not in holding on. It is in trusting that Allah has better for you and walking away even when your heart is trembling. Because when you release what's draining you, you make room for what will heal you. Letting go does not mean you didn't love. It doesn't mean you didn't try. It simply means you finally chose to love yourself enough to stop being hurt. You chose to walk away not in hatred, but in honor. You chose to stop bleeding for those who only watched you suffer. And that is strength. That is courage. That is faith. The pain of letting go is real, but the pain of staying stuck in emotional torment is far worse. And when you let go for the sake of Allah, He replaces your loss with light. The heart you thought was broken, He mends it. The love you thought you lost, He replaces it with His love. The people who left you empty, He fills that void with contentment you never knew possible. So, my dear sister, do not stay out of fear. Do not stay out of guilt. Do not stay out of false loyalty. If someone is draining your soul and dimming your light, you have every right to walk away, with grace, with dignity, and with Allah beside you. Let go, and let Allah guide you to a space where your peace is preserved, your heart is protected, and your worth is never questioned again. Speak up when you're hurt. Silence in the face of oppression is not patience, dear sister. How many times have you swallowed your pain? How many nights have you cried quietly, hiding your tears beneath your pillow because you didn't want to disturb anyone? How many times have you said, "It's okay, I'm fine," while your heart was quietly breaking? Too many women, beautiful, kind-hearted, faithful women, have been taught that patience means silence, that being a good Muslimah means bearing pain without ever speaking about it, that covering your wounds with a smile is more righteous than asking for help. But that is not what patience means. That is not what Allah requires from you. Patience does not mean enduring abuse. Patience does not mean remaining silent in the face of injustice. Patience is not the quiet acceptance of oppression. Patience is trusting Allah while you take action. Patience is holding on to faith while standing up for what is right. Patience is not cowardice. It is courage with reliance on Allah. Let's be clear, dear sister, your voice is not a burden, it is a blessing. Allah gave you a tongue so you can speak truth. He gave you emotions so you can express, heal and grow. He gave you a mind so you can discern when to endure and when to walk away. When you are hurting, speak. When you are wronged, speak. When someone mistreats you repeatedly, speak. Not in anger, not in vengeance, but in truth, in dignity, in courage, and in the remembrance of Allah. The Prophet never told the oppressed to suffer quietly. In fact, he said, "Help your brother whether he is the oppressor or the oppressed." When the companions asked, "We understand helping the oppressed, but how do we help the oppressor?" He replied, "By stopping him from his oppression." This shows that to allow oppression to continue, even silently, is not helping anyone, not yourself, and not the one doing wrong. When you allow people to mistreat you without consequences, you are enabling their wrongdoing. You are encouraging a cycle of pain, not ending it. Dear sister, speaking up is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of self-respect. It doesn't mean you're impatient. It means you value your dignity. It doesn't mean you're ungrateful. It means you refuse to carry a pain that Allah never asked you to bear alone. You were never meant to suffer in silence. When Hajar's as was left in the desert with her infant son, she didn't just sit and cry. She ran, she searched. She moved back and forth between the hills of Safa and Marwa, again and again, seeking help, seeking water, seeking a way. And Allah honored her movement, her effort, her voice, her courage. Today, every Muslim who performs Hajj walks in her footsteps. What does that tell you? That even when your situation feels desperate, even when you feel alone, do not stay silent, do not give up, and do not stop moving. Allah hears you, Allah sees you, and Allah will reward every step you take to stand for truth, even when it shakes your voice. So many sisters are enduring verbal abuse in marriages, emotional manipulation from relatives, toxic friendships, or suffocating environments, but they don't speak up. They fear being judged, they fear being blamed, they fear being told they are not patient enough. But what kind of patience is it that leaves your heart broken and your iman crushed? True patience is the kind that strengthens your soul, not destroys it. True patience is what Prophet Yusuf had in the prison, not the patience of the one who is locked in her own house, being crushed by daily humiliation. Silence is beautiful, yes, but not when it allows injustice to grow. Being quiet is powerful, yes, but not when it becomes the reason you are losing your health, your confidence, or your deen. Islam encourages communication, it encourages justice, it encourages healthy confrontation. So speak up, my sister, not because you're bitter, but because you are brave. Speak up not to hurt, but to heal. Speak up not to fight, but to free yourself from cycles that are draining your life. Speak up because silence in the wrong moments is not patience, but poison. And if no one listens to you, know that Allah is Al-Basir, the all-seeing, Al-Simi, the all-hearing, and Al-Hakikus, the truth. He knows what you've been through. He knows the tears no one else sees, and He will never let your pain go unrewarded. Take your pain to Allah, and then speak with wisdom to those around you. Express your truth, set your boundaries, make your heart heard, and walk away from any situation that continues to harm you, even if others say, stay patient. Because you can be patient with Qadar destiny, while still refusing to accept cruelty from people. You can trust Allah fully, while still choosing to protect your emotional and spiritual well-being. You are not weak for speaking. You are strong for standing. And Allah is with the one who stands for truth, even when her voice trembles. Invest in your iman and knowledge. A strong mind protects a soft heart. My dear sister, you are a woman of deep feeling. You cry when others hurt. You give when others take. You love sincerely, forgive easily, and carry the burdens of everyone else even when your own heart is aching. And that's beautiful. But it is also dangerous if it is not guarded by knowledge and rooted in your faith. You see, Allah created you with a heart full of mercy, but He also gave you a mind, a powerful, brilliant, discerning mind, so you don't fall into the traps of people who mistake your kindness for weakness. Your softness is not the problem. The problem begins when that softness is left unprotected by wisdom. Iman, faith, and knowledge. These are the shields every believing woman must wear. Because without them, you will be guided by emotions alone. And emotions without direction can lead you into pain, manipulation, confusion, and even despair. But when your faith is strong, when your knowledge is clear, when your connection to Allah is unshakable, you become a woman who is both gentle and wise, kind yet guarded, soft in heart but sharp in mind. And that balance is power. Let me remind you, my sister, the women Allah loved in the Quran were not just beautiful or emotional. They were intelligent, courageous, spiritually grounded, and deeply connected to Him. Maryam Ayaz didn't survive her trial because of softness alone. She survived because of devotion, strength, and unwavering tawakkul. Aziz Araif, the wife of Pharaoh, lived under the roof of the most tyrannical man in history. Yet she never allowed his darkness to define her light. Why? Because she built her heart on certainty in Allah. She made dua, not drama. She relied on her Lord, not her pain. She chose Jannah over comfort. You too can rise with that strength. But you must first feed your soul with knowledge. You cannot protect what you don't understand. You cannot grow if you're not learning. You cannot stop being a soft woman in the sense of being used and emotionally crushed unless you build the foundation that supports your heart. Start with your iman, strengthen it. Begin each day with sincere prayer. Fall in love with the Qur'an, even if just one verse a day. Talk to Allah before you talk to people. Make your connection with your Creator so strong that no one's absence breaks you anymore. Because a woman who is emotionally dependent on people will always be tossed by their moods, their love, their silence. But a woman who is anchored in Allah, she may feel the storm, but she will never be drowned by it. Next, invest in knowledge, especially Islamic knowledge. Learn your rights in Islam. Learn the stories of the women of Jannah. Learn how the Prophet treated women with honor, compassion, and balance. Learn how to guard your tongue, your time, your mind. When you learn, you grow. When you grow, you begin to choose differently. You begin to recognize red flags, avoid emotional traps, and stand for yourself without guilt. Many women today feel helpless not because they're weak, but because they lack clarity. And clarity only comes from knowledge. Knowledge of Allah, knowledge of your deen, knowledge of who you are and who you were never meant to be. You were never meant to be a slave to emotions. You were never meant to live for people's approval. You were never meant to be soft to the point of breaking. You were meant to be nourished by iman, protected by knowledge, and lifted by tawakkul. The Prophet made dua, O Allah, benefit me with what you have taught me, and teach me what will benefit me, and increase me in knowledge. That's a supplication every woman should make daily, because when you grow in knowledge, you rise in dignity. You begin to walk with purpose, and suddenly, people can no longer manipulate you, because you've learned how to listen with your faith, not just your feelings. So, my dear sister, if you've been hurt again and again, if you've trusted people who betrayed you, if you've forgiven until there's nothing left, don't just blame your heart. Strengthen your mind, reconnect with your faith, and guard your softness with the wisdom of the deen. That's the path to becoming the woman you were always meant to be, not hard but healed, not cold but cautious, not bitter but balanced. A woman who leads with her heart but protects it with her mind, guided always by Allah. Be kind, not blind. Balance mercy with wisdom and strength. Dear sister, you are naturally soft, naturally giving, naturally caring. That is your fitra, your divine nature. You were created with a heart that leans toward compassion, with hands that serve, and with words that comfort. And that is your beauty. But somewhere along the way, you were made to believe that your kindness should be limitless, that forgiveness meant repeating cycles, that being merciful meant tolerating disrespect, that patience meant staying silent when your heart was breaking. And so your kindness became a tool in the hands of those who didn't deserve it. Your smile covered pain. Your giving heart was stretched until it bled. Your silence was taken as permission to continue the harm. Let me say this with all the gentleness and truth you deserve to hear. Islam does not teach blind kindness. Our deen teaches kindness with intelligence, mercy with strength, and love with limits. Yes, Allah is the most merciful, but even He sets boundaries. Yes, the Prophet I was the most compassionate, but even he drew lines when necessary. There is a reason Allah gave us both the heart and the mind. One softens us, the other protects us. One allows us to love, the other teaches us who is worthy of that love. So, dear sister, your mission is not to stop being kind. It is to stop being blind. Blind to manipulation, blind to disrespect, blind to emotional abuse disguised as care, blind to relationships that only take but never give, blind to the slow erosion of your self-worth, all in the name of being a good woman. Let's remember the example of Salama's Raif, a woman of deep faith, fierce intellect, and balanced strength. When her husband passed away, she was heartbroken, but she didn't chase love. She made dua to Allah, saying, "O Allah, reward me for my calamity and give me better than it in return." She trusted her Lord. And what happened? Allah gave her Rasulullah as her husband. This is what happens when you hold your dignity and leave matters in the hands of the most merciful. You do not have to lower your standards or betray your soul to keep someone in your life. You do not have to lose yourself to prove that you love someone. True love never asks you to destroy yourself. True mercy never demands your silence in the face of harm. True kindness does not mean compromising your worth again and again. You are allowed to walk away from what hurts, even if you still love them. You are allowed to say, "I forgive you, but I can no longer allow you into my life." You are allowed to be kind with your words, but firm with your boundaries. Let's stop glorifying the kind of woman who burns herself out just to keep others warm. Let's stop teaching our daughters that being good means being silent. Let's stop measuring a woman's worth by how much pain she can tolerate without complaint. Because the woman of Jannah is not just merciful, she is wise, respected, fearless, boundaried, balanced. The Prophet said, "The believer is not stung from the same hole twice." This means once someone shows you their behavior, you are not expected to continue forgiving blindly. You are encouraged to learn, grow, and protect your peace. Yes, be kind, but don't let kindness become your weakness. Yes, be forgiving, but don't confuse forgiveness with enabling. Yes, be merciful, but don't allow your mercy to destroy your mental and spiritual health. A wise woman once said, "I will love you, I will pray for you, but I will also step away from you if being near you is breaking me." That's what you must learn. That's what Islam teaches. Balance, wisdom, taqwa, strength, mercy, all at once. You are not called for protecting your peace. You are not hard-hearted for refusing to be used. You are not arrogant for knowing your worth. Your Creator has told you, and do not let the hatred of a people prevent you from being just. The Surah Al-Ma'idah 5:8, that includes being just with yourself. So, dear sister, let your heart remain soft, but let your mind be strong. Let your love remain sincere, but let your limits be clear. Let your mercy continue, but let it be with wisdom and truth, not blindness and pain. Because when you walk with that balance, you become unstoppable. A woman who pleases Allah, who lives with dignity, who loves deeply, gives purely, but never forgets her worth. And that is the kind of woman this Ummah needs. Not just soft, but smart, brave, spiritually grounded, and beautifully, wisely kind. Let's now reflect on some powerful reminders that will guide you toward becoming a woman of strength and honor. Here are 6 heartfelt keys to help you stop being the soft woman that the world tries to take advantage of. Let's dive deep into the changes you can embrace to rise stronger, live wiser, and grow closer to Allah. Here are the 6 mind shifts every woman must make to reclaim her worth and walk with spiritual power.